Hi, third graders. Miss Donahue here. Today, I'm going to talk to you about how reading is thinking and how we need to stop and jot down our thoughts, feelings, and reactions to a text while we read. A jot is really important to capture your thinking while you read. That way, you can go back to revisit what you were thinking while you were reading, or you can share them with your classmates or your teacher. Some things you might be thinking about while you're reading are, does the story make sense? Can you make any connections, whether you're connecting it to yourself or experiences, or you're connecting it to another book you read, or even something you saw on TV? Is what you're reading an important detail to the story or the plot or the topic? These are really important things to think about. Often while I read, I make some predictions, and sometimes my predictions are correct, and sometimes they're not. So while I read, I think about, why was my prediction wrong? What was I thinking when I predicted? So it's all a lot of thinking going on. I'm going to show you how we do that together. Today I'm going to read you a little bit of this book. It's called Beverly Cleary, Ramona's World. So I'm going to start right actually at the beginning. Ramona Quimby was 9 years old. She had brown hair, brown eyes, and no cavities. She had a mother, a father, a big sister named Beatrice, who was called Beezus by the family. And this was the exciting part. A baby sister named Roberta, after her father, Robert Quimby. Look at her tiny fingernails, Ramona marveled as she looked on at the sleeping Roberta. And her little eyebrows. She is already a whole person, only little. I'm going to stop and I'm going to jot. So here's where I'm going to jot my thoughts down. Now, normally in school, you'd use a Post-it to jot down your ideas. But where we're remote some days, we're going to do it electronically or virtually on this Google Slide. So I'm going to record the page I'm on, which is page 9. And I'm making a connection with Ramona. I connect with Ramona because I remember when my niece was born, thinking how cute and little her fingers, toes, and nose were. So that's my first thought while I read. Let's keep reading. Ramona couldn't wait for the first day of school so she could spread the news about her baby sister. The day finally came. It was a warm September day, and Ramona, neat and clean, with a lunch bag in hand, half skipped, half hopped, scrunching through dry leaves on the sidewalk. She was early, she knew, but Ramona was the sort of girl who was always early because something might happen that she didn't want to miss. The 4th grade was going to be the best year of her life so far. Ramona was the first to arrive at the bus stop in front of Mrs. Pitt's house. Mrs. Pitt came out on the front door and began sweeping her front steps. "Hi, Mrs. Pitt," Ramona called out. "Guess what? My baby sister is 2 months old." "Good for her," said Mrs. Pitt, agreeable to a baby in the neighborhood. Babies did not scatter candy wrappers or old spelling papers on the lawn in front of her house. I wonder why Mrs. Pitt is grumpy. Is she grumpy? Or is she misunderstood? I'm going to record that on my jot lot. I'm going to go back here. I am on page 10. I wonder, is Mrs. Pitt grumpy? Why is she grumpy? I'm going to stop there because I don't know. Maybe we'll find out later in the book. Is she grumpy, or was this just a grumpy moment for her? That's just something that popped into my head. I'm curious. Ramona pretended she was playing hopscotch until her friend Howie, who was already familiar with Roberta, joined her along with other children, some with their mothers, who were excited about the first day of school. "Hi, Ramona," he said, and leaned against a tree in the strip of grass between the sidewalk and the street. He opened his lunch bag and began to eat his lunch. Ramona knew he was doing this so he didn't have to carry his lunch to school. "Little boy," Mrs. Pitt called out. "Little boy, don't you drop any papers or orange peels in front of my house, and stay off of my grass." She seems pretty grumpy. Okay. Howie took another bite of his sandwich as he moved to the sidewalk. Howie was not easily excited, which Ramona sometimes found annoying. She was often excited. She liked to be excited. When the yellow bus stopped, Ramona was first on board. She plunked herself down on a seat across the aisle from another fourth grader, a boy named Danny, who was wearing a white t-shirt with Trailblazers printed on it. Ramona called him Yard Ape because she thought he acted like an ape on the playground. She was glad he had not moved away during the summer. "I have a new baby sister," she informed him. Yard Ape closed his eyes and hit his forehead with the palm of his hand. "Another Ramona," he said, and groaned. Ramona refused to smile. "You have a little brother," she reminded him. "I know," answered Yard Ape, "but we just keep him for a pet." Ramona made a face at him so he wouldn't know she liked him. When Ramona jumped off the bus at Cedarhurst School, she greeted old friends, most of them new, or at least clean clothes for starting fourth grade. When she saw Janet, whom she had often seen in the park during the summer, the two girls compared calluses on the palms of their hands. "Your calluses are really big," said Janet, impressed. It was true. Ramona's calluses were hard and yellow because she lived close to the park, where she often went with Beezus and her mother and Roberta on warm days. She worked hard at the rings. Pump, pump, swing, pump, pump, swing, and by the end of the summer she was able to travel down the line of rings and back again. "There's Susan!" cried Janet, and ran to join her. Reluctantly, Ramona followed. "Hi, Susan," she said, eyeing Susan's short blonde curls. "Hi, Ramona," answered Susan. Neither girl smiled. The trouble was, growing up, Quimby's and Susan's parents, the Kushners, were friends. Ramona did not know what Mrs. Kushner said, but her own parents often said things like, "Now, you be nice to Susan. Susan is such a well-behaved little girl." Or, "Susan's mother says Susan always sets the table without being asked." Such remarks did not endear Susan to Ramona. There was more. In kindergarten, Susan did not like Ramona, who could not resist pulling on the long curls she had at that time and saying, "Boing," as she released them. In first grade, when the class was making owls out of paper bags, Susan copied Ramona's owl. The teacher held up Susan's owl to show the class what a splendid owl Susan had made. This seemed so unfair to Ramona that she scrunched Susan's owl and found herself in trouble. Big trouble. So how could anyone expect the two girls to be friends? As Ramona expected, the calluses on Susan's hands were so small they could scarcely be seen. Then Ramona saw a new girl who was standing alone, a new fourth grader, Ramona decided, and because she admired the girl's long, fair hair, she went over to her and asked, "What's your name?" "Daisy," answered the girl. "Daisy Kidd." When she smiled, Ramona saw that she was wearing bands on her teeth. "What's your name?" Daisy asked. As Ramona told her, the bell rang, entering their conversation. I'm going to make a prediction. I'm on page 15. I predict that Ramona and Daisy will become great friends. All right. I'm going to stop my reading for today. I'm going to put my bookmark into my book. And before I end for the day, I'm going to write what stuck with me through the reading. So Ramona is very close with her family. She is very excited for her new baby sister. And there is a new girl named Daisy at Ramona's school. There. So that way I've recorded 3 jots, and then I kind of I wrote down the things that stuck out most to me in the text that I've read so far. That way, when I continue to read, I can look back at my jots and I can answer some questions like, why is Mrs. Pitt grumpy? Or is she really grumpy? I bet that'll say in the text. I can see if my prediction, if Ramona and Daisy will become great friends, is that correct? And then I can always reference back. Maybe I forgot some of what I was reading. I can look at my stuck with me sticky and say, oh, that's right. That new girl in her school was Daisy. And I forgot that she had a new baby sister and that she was excited to start school. So I kind of wrote down the things that stuck out most to me so that when I come back to my book, I can continue reading with those things in my mind. Here's what you're going to do next. You're going to practice this on your own. You're going to reread Missing from your September issue of Storyworks. That's the first story we read on our first Wednesday. You're going to take time to stop and jot while you read. And I want you to do that at least 3 times while you read. And you're going to use this slideshow to record your jots. So same thing, write down the page and your thoughts. Do you have questions, predictions, connections? Anything that pops into your mind while you read is going to really help you process what you read. You might think about what's important, what's interesting, what's confusing, or if you have a question. So put it all here on your jot lot. And you have to do at least 3, but if you have more, that's awesome. Fill up the whole page if you'd like. And when you're all done, you're going to write things that stuck out from the story right in here. I can't wait to see what you wrote down and jotted and what stuck with you most through the story. And we'll go over this together. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson, and I will see you soon.